Good morning, Econ. Hope everyone is doing great, and we're winding down towards the end of the year. So, what we're doing today with today's screencast lecture is I gave this actually same lecture at the beginning of the year, and I'm going to give it again. And so, at the very beginning of the year, I think the first or second day of, I'm sorry, not the beginning of the year, the beginning of the semester, we went over 12 reasons about why we study econ. And I'm going to kind of do this again to kind of summarize the semester. And so for your screencast today, these 12 topics you want to put on the left side of your paper. And on the right side, you want to put about 2 or 3 bullet points for each of the 12 topics. And before I begin, I just want to say that it's been a pleasure working with you all semester. I know that this has been the most unusual semester of our academic lives and the challenges that have come with this global pandemic and online learning. And I appreciate, I know this has been a fluid process, and I appreciate many of you, your hard work and your effort. I've enjoyed reading your assignments and the assessments that you've turned in, various projects we've done, like the topic review, the human capital, and just, a lot of you have really continued to work hard and learn and be engaged with my class, and I appreciate that. And it's been a pleasure working with you guys. And so let's get into the screencast. So hopefully by taking this class before online and then on the line, uh, there's, a lot of things that you've gotten from this class. I told you at the beginning of the semester this would be one of the more important classes you've taken in your academic career, because much of this you're going to use in your adult life, and it's going to be very applicable. And so, uh, you know, hopefully, here are 12 things that you've really gotten from this course. So, why study econ? Studying this course, hopefully, you've become better at making choices and decisions. Uh, Econ and life is really about the choices and decisions that we make every day. Uh, I'm a big athletic guy. I'm a coach. I love to talk about the game of life. And the very beginning of the semester, we gave a definition of econ that it's the ability to satisfy our wants and needs by making choices and decisions. So, economically, we make small decisions. What am I going to have for lunch? How much am I going to spend on shampoo? And then there are big decisions. How much am I going to spend on a wedding? How much am I going to spend on a party? How much am I going to spend on a car? How much am I going to spend on a home? We make little short-term decisions like what time do I wake up in the morning? How much time do I spend studying? To long-term decisions like where am I going to go to college? Who am I going to choose as my lifelong partner? What am I going to do for a career? Am I going to make a career change? If you remember, we talked about opportunity cost and trade-offs. We talked about guns and butter, that every society must choose between guns and butter. If I choose butter, that means I'm going to have more food as a society and maybe not be as strong with national defense. If I choose national defense, then maybe there'll be a stronger military, but um, maybe not as much food or as many products in my economic society. There's trade-offs in life. We make decisions every day. You remember the basic thing we said at the beginning of the year is can't have it all. Picture that. And so sometimes we have to make trade-offs to get something. We have to give something up. And so, if I go out to eat, I maybe thoroughly enjoy the meal more than if I, bought something from the grocery store. But I spend more money if I go to the grocery store. Uh, I save money, but then maybe my meal is not as enjoyable. The second thing about why studying econ is we become a more informed voter. So we got a big election coming up in 2020 that you guys will be able to vote in. There'll be congressional elections. We got the big presidential election, uh, Joe Biden versus the Donald, and economics is always a huge part of every election. And so Biden and Trump will have very different economic plans. And so by understanding economics, you maybe can make a better choice of who you want to lead our nation into the next 4 years. Understanding free enterprise. So free enterprise is, the basic capitalist system that we have here in the United States. We live in a capitalist society. We talked about the different economic systems from a command economy to mixed economy, a market economy. We talked about how in a free enterprise system we have to decide how many goods and services we're going to produce, who's going to produce the goods and services, how they go out to different people. We talked about opportunities in a free enterprise, incentives that you have in a free enterprise system. Uh, that's the basic difference between capitalism and communism. In communism, where everyone's rich, everyone or nobody's poor, but no one gets a raise. There's really no incentive to work hard. But in a free enterprise, the incentive is profit, and that's what drives the economy. If I own a business, I'm trying to do a good job because I want to make a profit. Then we talked about supply and demand, and so we talked about what causes demand to go up, what causes demand to go down, why supply goes up, why supply goes down. We talked about elasticity of supply and demand. Um, Remember, with demand, if the price goes up, demand goes down. If the price goes down, demand goes up. But then when we talked about elasticity, if you were to still buy something, even though it's expensive, then that product would be inelastic. If the price goes up and you stop buying a product, then that product would be elastic. We talked about trends and fashions, what's in, what's out, and so basically, why there would be more products in the economy or less products. Prices. We talked about understanding prices. Why do prices rise? Why do prices fall? Making basic decisions about our purchases. Understanding business. If you remember when we went to online learning, the very first unit that we covered was we were covering the different type of businesses. We talked about sole proprietorships, going into business for yourself, the basic advantages and disadvantages of a sole proprietorship. We talked about partnerships. The forces of two are greater than one if two act as one. Remember, you did the assignment about a partnership that's gone well in your life, a partnership that maybe hasn't gone well. We've talked about entrepreneurs, corporations, just franchises, all the different type of businesses that exist in the economy. As a coach, I really love this next one. Becoming a better competitor. Life, economics, athletics is all about competition. We're competing every day. We're competing on the athletic field. If you're in the band, you're competing against other musicians. We're competing in academics for grades, for scholarships. The economy is all about basic competition. If you remember, there was the day we did the lesson. You live in a town and there's two gas stations, and you own one of the gas stations. What would you do to make sure that customers were coming to your gas station? And so we talked about perfect competition, monolistic competition. How McDonald's, Burger King, all the fast food businesses, they can't really jack up the prices when they have similar products, but there's certain things you can do to try to get customers as far as service, location. um, different types of burgers that you put out. You know, so we just talked about all the different ways that businesses compete, and then how that applies to your life. So by understanding economics, hopefully it gives you an idea of, we talked about who you're competing with in your own life, how you're competing with yourself. And so you should become a better competitor or have a better understanding of competition by taking this class. Understand the employment market. We talked about how to get a job, how to keep a job, why people lose jobs. You remember we did the lesson on uh, how to build a resume, and I showed you the crash course video on how to build a resume. We also talked about, there was a crash course video on job interviews and the different tips for building a resume, different tips for performing in a job interview. Understanding a budget, how to balance a budget. You did that assignment where I had you budget your life for the month. We talked about the different bills that you'll have: car note, rent or mortgage, your cell phone bill, groceries, accessories, your basic car insurance, phone insurance. And so by taking this class, hopefully you understand the concept of a budget and how to save. And obviously, you don't want to spend more than the wages that you earn in a month. The goal is to spend less so you can have savings each month or most months. The next thing is, we talked about the correlation of education and wages and the standard of living. We did the assignment learn more, earn more. And we talked about how, in many cases, if you have a bachelor's degree, you're going to earn more than if you have a high school degree. If you have a master's degree or a doctorate, you're going to earn more than if you have a bachelor's degree. This is not always the case, but in most situations. And then with the learn more, earn more, and the budget assignment, remember you did wages and standard of living. And you saw what your standard of living would be with a high school diploma, what your standard of living would be with a college diploma. And so the higher your wages, the higher your standard of living. Remember, we also did the scans report, where we talked about the different skills that are on the scans report, and skills that maybe were your strength, skills that you could work on. And the more skills you accumulate, we talked about the importance of human capital. The more skills you have, the more equipped you are to earn a higher education and higher wages. Understanding the banking and credit system. We talked about banking and credit. We talked about how to open up a bank account, the different types of banking accounts, CD accounts, the function of banks, what banks do. We talked about credit. Remember the screencast I did about credit cards, and you did the assignment about the basic do's and don'ts of credit cards and the advantages of having good credit, the disadvantages of having bad credit. It's very difficult to buy a house, nearly impossible if you have bad credit. And you want to have a good credit score. You want to pay off your credit card bills in full monthly, and you don't want to be late with your bills, because that will accumulate bad credit. And so we talked about the advantages of having good credit. And then understanding taxes. Last week we talked about taxes, what taxes are, what the different types of taxes, what taxes pay for. We did the screencast lecture on a tax return, a W-2 form, W-4 form. Um, Talked about tax exemptions. Are you single? Are you married? Claiming a child on your taxes. And we talked about deductions, different breaks you can get in the tax returns. If you're in school, if you have excessive medical bills, if you pay a mortgage, if you've donated to charity. And so these are many of the things that hopefully you've taken from this class. Again, I appreciate all the hard work that you've done this semester, and especially with the online learning. And you have another assignment this week that deals. It's piggybacks on this screencast. And so you're basically you're going to pick three of these 12 topics, and I'd like you to write three paragraphs, a paragraph for each topic, elaborating on why this how studying econ helps you better equipped to understand this topic. And then, is there anything that you wish we would have learned more of? That will be your fourth topic. But basically, read the instructions I give for the assignment, and I've posted that above the screencast. And so this week you need to turn in these notes of this lecture I just did, and then you need to turn in the assignment by Sunday. But again, as I've been saying, finish it today or tomorrow, so you don't have to worry about it over the weekend. And I know you guys are returning books next week. I'll be working one of the shifts, so hopefully I get to see some of you as you bring your books in. And hopefully everyone's doing great. And enjoy the rest of your week. Wash your hands and take care, everyone.